I found it by accident. A sleek, black membership card, tucked between the folds of my wife's scarf in the hallway drawer. Titan Elite Fitness Club was embossed in silver, along with Mia's name printed in bold, elegant letters. I frowned. Mia never mentioned joining a gym. She'd always hated working out, said it was boring, repetitive. Whenever I tried to convince her to come running with me, she'd roll her eyes and say, asterisk, that's your thing, not mine, asterisk. So why now? I turned the card over in my hands, feeling the weight of it. Asterisk thicker than usual, expensive star. The kind of thing reserved for exclusive members. That was the first red flag. At first, I didn't think much of it. People changed, right? Maybe Mia had finally decided to take her health seriously. But then I noticed the other changes. Late nights. Sweaty gym clothes stuffed hastily into the laundry. That extra glow on her skin. The way she seemed lighter, more energized. I should have been happy for her. Encouraging. But something about it didn't sit right. Maybe it was the way she never invited me along. Or how, when I asked about her workouts, she'd be too vague. Just some cardio, she'd say, avoiding eye contact. Or, it's mostly stretching. Stretching? At 11 p.m.? Something was off. And I wasn't about to ignore my gut. One evening, as she walked through the front door, hair damp, skin glowing, I tested her. How was the gym? I asked, watching her reaction closely. She froze just for a second. Then she smiled. Exhausting. Her tone was off, like she was playing a role she hadn't rehearsed well enough. I stepped closer, pressing a kiss to her cheek. She smelled clean, soap and eucalyptus, but beneath it, something musky, something that didn't belong to her. I felt my stomach turn. She pulled away too quickly, heading to the bathroom. I need a shower, she said over her shoulder. The door locked behind her. I stood there, heart pounding, realization settling in. Mia was hiding something, and I was going to find out exactly what it was. The feeling gnawed at me for days. That itch in the back of my mind, the one that told me something was wrong. Mia had never been the type to work out religiously. Yet now she was spending hours at the gym, coming home late, breathless, her skin flushed. I tried to ignore it, tried to tell myself I was overthinking. But doubt is like a splinter. It burrows under your skin, festers, refuses to be ignored. And I was done ignoring it. The first step was simple. I checked our shared bank account. Sure enough, Titan Elite Fitness Club had been charging a hefty membership fee every month. More than what most gyms cost for a full year. What kind of workouts was she paying for? Next, I searched for the club online. It wasn't just a gym. It was exclusive, private, the kind of place that didn't advertise openly. There were no group classes, no casual memberships, you had to be invited. And I knew for a fact that no one in our circle had ever mentioned it. So who invited her? I kept digging, scrolling through photos of the club's interior. Sleek machines, marble floors, dimly lit saunas, luxurious locker rooms. And then I saw him, a man in a black Titan Elite trainer polo, smirking at the camera. Tall, athletic, arrogant. Logan Carter, head trainer. The caption under his photo read, "Helping our clients push their limits." I didn't like him, didn't like the way he stood in every picture, flanked by beautiful women in tight leggings and sports bras, women who hung on his every word. I scrolled further. More photos, more smirks, and then, at the very bottom, a blurred image of Logan with his arms slung around a familiar figure. Mia. My pulse pounded. It was just a candid shot. Nothing inappropriate, but her smile? The way she was leaning into him? That wasn't just a trainer-client relationship. I clenched my jaw. If I wanted answers, I needed to stop playing detective. I needed to see it for myself. That Friday, Mia left for the gym at 8:30 p.m. Late session, she had said, slipping into her leggings, tying her hair back. Asterisk, gotta stay disciplined. Asterisk. I nodded, kissed her goodbye, pretended I wasn't about to follow her. 15 minutes after she left, I grabbed my keys and drove across town to Titan Elite Fitness Club. The building loomed ahead, sleek and modern, floor-to-ceiling tinted windows concealing whatever secrets lay inside. I parked in a dark corner of the lot and waited. For nearly an hour, I sat there watching as members came and went. Then, at exactly 9:47 p.m., Mia stepped out of the main gym area with Logan. They weren't holding hands. They weren't touching, but they were too close. And as they disappeared into the hallway leading to the private saunas, I felt my blood run cold. I had seen enough. Now I needed proof. And nothing was going to stop me from getting it. The hallway leading to the private saunas was dimly lit, a sleek contrast of dark wood and frosted glass. The air was thick with the scent of eucalyptus and something heavier, something intimate. I moved carefully, my steps soundless against the polished floors. I wasn't supposed to be here. Titan Elite wasn't a normal gym. There were no public tour hours, no curious onlookers. This place was for members only. And the deeper I went, the more it became clear, this wasn't just a fitness club. It was a playground. For people like Mia. The first thing I heard was a soft moan. Muffled. Almost drowned by the sound of steam hissing through the vents. I froze. Another sound followed. A hushed, breathy whisper. So familiar yet dripping with something I hadn't heard from Mia in years. Lust. Need. I stepped closer, my breath shallow. There were multiple sauna rooms, but only one door was slightly ajar. The flickering glow of candlelight spilling onto the floor. Another moan. Longer. Deeper. I felt my pulse hammer in my ears. My hand moved to the door, hesitating for only a second. Then I pushed it open. Steam curled around the room, swirling in thick waves that barely hid them. Mia stood with her bare back to me, completely naked, her damp skin glistening. Logan's hands were all over her. His fingers dug into her hips, pulling her against him. His mouth moved along her neck, her shoulder, teeth grazing skin. And then, her voice, breathy, pleading, desperate. "Logan," she moaned, her fingers gripping his shoulders. Not Ethan. Not me. His name. I felt something inside me break. A slow, agonizing snap like a rope being stretched too tight before it finally ripped apart. I should have stormed in. Should have ripped him away from her. Made them pay for every filthy secret. Every lie. But I didn't. I backed away. Stepping into the shadows, my breath locked in my throat. Because I realized something terrifying in that moment. Mia wasn't just cheating. She wasn't just being unfaithful. She was gone. The way she moved against him. The way she craved him, that wasn't a mistake. That was who she was now. And I had never seen her like that with me. I don't remember walking out of the gym. 1 second, I was standing in the heat of betrayal, drowning in the sounds of Mia giving herself to another man. The next, I was in my car. My chest was tight. I could still hear her moaning his name. Still see the way her body pressed against his. I swallowed the lump in my throat. I couldn't confront her. Not yet. Because anger wasn't enough. I needed proof. I needed to destroy them. And I was going to make damn sure they never saw it coming. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them. Mia's bare skin, glistening under the dim sauna lights. Logan's hands gripping her like he owned her. The way she whispered his name, like it was the only one that had ever mattered. The images burned into me like a brand. By morning, I had made my decision. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to beg for explanations. I was going to end this. And I was going to ruin them both. The first step was simple. I needed proof. Undeniable proof. Mia thought she was careful, but people in affairs always get sloppy. Always. That afternoon, while she was at work, I went through her things. Her gym bag was the first place I checked. Nothing. Then her car. I rummaged through the glove compartment, the center console, under the seats. First, it seemed clean. Then I checked the sun visor. And there it was. A second phone. My pulse hammered. I flipped it open. Unlocked. Idiot. I scrolled through the messages. And there it was. Every filthy detail of her affair, laid bare in texts. Mia. Asterisk, I still feel your hands on me. I don't want to wait until our next session. Asterisk. Logan. Asterisk, you know the rules, baby. Be a good girl and wait for me. Asterisk, Mia, I was late to the gym today on purpose, just so you'd punish me again. Logan, next time I won't stop until you beg. I clenched my jaw so hard I thought my teeth might crack. Every message was worse than the last. Details about their meetings, how he spanked her for being late, how he took her in the back room when no one was watching, how she had never felt so alive. The phone shook in my hands. I had enough, but I wasn't done yet. I needed one last thing. It wasn't enough to have texts. I needed footage. I drove to an electronics store and bought a tiny, discreet hidden camera. One that could be placed somewhere they wouldn't suspect. And that night, when Mia was in the shower, I slipped it into her gym bag, tucked neatly between her towels and spare clothes. She wouldn't notice. And soon, she'd give me all the proof I needed. The next few days were torture. I pretended like nothing was wrong. Pretended to still be the clueless husband, smiling when she kissed me goodbye before leaving for the gym. Pretended not to feel sick every time she lied to my face. Then, on the third night, she came home late. Her hair was damp. Her skin flushed. I forced a smile. Good workout. She hesitated. Just for a second. Yeah. Then she kissed me. I nearly recoiled. But I held it together. Because I knew something she didn't. I had footage waiting for me. And when she fell asleep that night, I retrieved the camera from her bag. Hand steady, heart pounding. I plugged it into my laptop, opened the file, and watched everything. Every touch, every stolen kiss, every moan. I sat there in the dark, my entire world collapsing in real time. Then I exhaled slowly, and I smiled, because now, I had everything I needed to destroy them. The video played out in front of me, and with each passing second, the rage inside me grew colder. It wasn't just the betrayal. It wasn't just the touches, the moans, the way she gave herself to him without hesitation. It was the look on her face. She wasn't just having an affair. She was lost in it. I watched Logan press Mia against the sauna wall, his hands roaming freely over her body. She giggled, breathless, teasing him, daring him to take her right there. And he did, without hesitation, like she belonged to him. Like I had never existed. I clenched my fists. I had seen enough. I wouldn't confront her yet. Not until I was ready to end this the right way. Now that I had the footage, it was time for the next step. Exposing them in front of everyone who mattered. I wasn't just going to ruin Mia. I was going to obliterate Logan, too. I started making calls. First, to Titan Elite Fitness Club's corporate office. I emailed them a copy of the footage, along with an anonymous message. Asterisk, this is what your elite trainers do with their clients. Might want to reconsider your hiring practices. Asterisk. Then I contacted Logan's wife. Yes, the bastard was married. And from what I could gather, his wife, Sophia, had no idea what was going on. I found her on social media, her profile filled with pictures of their wedding, their 2-year-old daughter, posts about Logan being the best husband and father. I almost felt bad for her, but she deserved the truth. I sent her an email with the video attached.
No explanations.
Just a subject line. You need to see this. And then, for the final move, I arranged for a public unveiling. Mia had planned a small gathering this weekend, friends, family, colleagues. A night to celebrate life, as she had put it. It was perfect. She wanted to play happy wife? Fine. She could do it while the world watched her mask shatter into pieces. I spent the next 2 days acting normal. Mia had no idea what was coming. She kissed me goodbye in the mornings, her lips still tainted with another man's touch. She came home late, slipping into bed beside me, unaware that I knew exactly where she had been. And I waited for the moment she would finally understand what it felt like to have everything ripped away. Because this weekend, she wasn't just going to lose her husband. She was going to lose her entire world. And I was going to enjoy every second of it. The night of the party arrived. Mia had been bouncing with excitement all afternoon, moving through the house with a bright smile, humming to herself as she set up decorations, arranged food, and texted friends. She had no idea. No idea that every step she took, every breath she exhaled, was just another moment leading her straight into the trap. I watched her, expression neutral, sipping a drink as guests started arriving. Friends, family, even her co-workers, and most importantly, Logan's wife, Sophia, arrived just 10 minutes after the party started. She walked in alone, her face pale but composed. She had seen the footage. She had read every text message. And now, she was here to watch her husband's downfall. I gave her a small nod from across the room. She didn't nod back. Her hands were clenched into fists, her whole body rigid. Good, because tonight wasn't just about my revenge. It was about hers, too. An hour into the party, people were relaxed, chatting, drinking. Mia was radiant, moving through the room like the perfect hostess. And Logan? He wasn't here yet. I had made sure of that. Because before he walked into this house, I needed everyone's attention. I tapped a fork against my glass, clearing my throat. "Can I get everyone's attention for a moment?" I said, keeping my voice even. Mia turned to me, eyes wide with surprise, but also delight. She thought I was about to toast her, to celebrate her. The irony almost made me laugh. "I just wanted to take a second to say how much I appreciate everyone coming out tonight," I continued, scanning the room. "It's a special night. A night about truth. About love." Mia smiled. Then I pulled out my phone, and her smile froze. My hands were steady as I tapped the screen, casting the video to the large TV in the living room, the one everyone could see. The screen lit up with the footage from the sauna. Mia, Logan, naked, moaning, his hands gripping her whispering his name. A collective gasp filled the room. Mia stumbled back, her face draining of color. "Oh my God!" someone muttered. "What the hell is this?" And then, the front door opened. Logan stepped in, grinning, completely unaware, until he saw the screen, until he saw his wife staring at him, her expression filled with pure hatred. The room was dead silent. Then, Sophia threw her glass of wine directly into Logan's face. Mia let out a choked sob, turning to me, eyes wild, pleading. "Ethan, please, I can explain." I tilted my head. "Can you?" She collapsed onto the floor, hands over her mouth, shaking her head as her world shattered around her. Logan wiped his face, turning to his wife. "Sophia, baby, let's talk." She slapped him, hard. Then she turned and walked out the door. I followed, because I was done. And Mia? She could stay in the wreckage she had built all on her own. I stepped outside, inhaling the crisp night air, letting it fill my lungs. Behind me, chaos erupted, shouts, gasps, whispered accusations. I didn't turn around. Let Mia drown in her humiliation. Let Logan face the fallout of his pathetic lies. I had done what I came to do, and now, I was free. Sophia was already at her car, hands braced against the roof, breathing hard. I walked up slowly, unsure if she wanted company or silence. She must have sensed me, because she exhaled sharply and turned, eyes burning with anger. Not at me, at him, at everything. "You knew," she said, her voice tight. "How long?" I met her gaze. "Long enough." She nodded, biting her lip. "I should have seen it." "Me too." For a moment we stood there, both of us absorbing the ugly truth. We weren't just two people escaping a party. We were two people whose lives had just been burned to the ground. Finally, she let out a bitter laugh, shaking her head. "I bet they thought they'd never get caught." I smirked. They weren't smart enough to cover their tracks. Her expression darkened. Logan was so damn careless. The late nights, the unexplained phone calls. I told myself I was imagining things. She exhaled sharply. "I hate that I let him make me feel crazy." I understood that feeling too well. Mia had done the same to me. The lies, the gaslighting, the way she smiled and kissed me right after being with him. Sophia crossed her arms. "So what now?" I let out a slow breath. "Now, we move on. Just like that." I shrugged. "It's the only choice we have." She studied me for a moment, You know, I don't feel sad. Me neither. Another silence stretched between us. But it wasn't uncomfortable. It was understanding. Sophia smirked. I guess we're both officially single now. I chuckled. Guess so. She reached for her car door, then paused. Ethan? Yeah. She hesitated, then smiled, a real smile. Drinks sometime? I raised an eyebrow. Revenge drinks. She laughed. Something like that. I pretended to think about it, then nodded. Yeah, I think I'd like that. She slid into her car, giving me one last glance before driving away. And for the first time in a long time, I felt good. The night stretched ahead, quiet and unfamiliar. I sat in my car long after Sophia left, fingers drumming against the steering wheel, my mind still catching up with everything that had happened. Mia was gone from my life. Logan had been exposed for the fraud he was. So why did I still feel like I was standing on the edge of something unfinished? By the next morning, the explosion had spread far beyond the walls of our home. Mia's family had seen the video. Her friends had stopped answering her calls. Even her coworkers, the same people who once admired her, were whispering behind her back, trading rumors about the night her entire world imploded. I checked social media out of curiosity. Mia's accounts had been wiped clean. Her carefully curated life, the fake perfection, the smiling selfies, the vacation photos, gone. She had always cared about her image. Now she had none left. I should have felt guilty, but I didn't. I only felt justice. Sophia called later that afternoon. Her voice was calm, but I could hear the satisfaction underneath. He got fired. I smirked. That was fast. Titan Elite didn't want the bad press. She sighed. He came home last night and tried to convince me to forgive him. And, she laughed cold and sharp, I threw his stuff out the window. Good. I could picture it. Logan standing on the front lawn, watching his life crash down around him, just like Mia had. They had destroyed us without a second thought. And now they were the ones left with nothing. That evening I met Sophia for drinks. It wasn't a date. It wasn't anything, really. Just two people trying to piece themselves back together. We drank. We talked. We laughed. And for the first time in a long time, I felt light. Not healed. Not whole. But free. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. For now. The first drink went down easy. So did the second. Sophia and I sat in a dimly lit bar, tucked into a booth at the back, away from the noise. The air smelled of whiskey and old leather, and for the first time in weeks, I wasn't drowning in rage. We weren't here to talk about them. We were here to forget them. At least for tonight. Sophia swirled the last of her drink in her glass, watching the amber liquid catch the light. You ever think about what would have happened if we never found out? She asked. I leaned back, exhaling. I used to. She looked up, waiting. I shrugged. At first, I kept thinking, what if I had never checked? What if I had just ignored the signs? She smirked. You'd still be home, waiting for Mia to finish her workouts. I let out a dry chuckle. Yeah, and you'd be kissing Logan goodnight while he smelled like someone else. She made a face, then took another sip. We both fell into silence, letting the truth settle between us. If we hadn't seen it, if we hadn't exposed it, we would still be living the lie. The thought made my stomach turn. I glanced at Sophia. Do you regret seeing it? She was quiet for a moment, then shook her head.
No.
I regret who I wasted my time on. But I don't regret knowing. I nodded. That was the difference between us and them. They had built their happiness on lies. We were rebuilding ours with truth. Even if it hurt. Sophia sighed, setting her glass down. You know what's funny? What? She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I don't even miss him. I studied her face. She was telling the truth. Me neither, I admitted. I had spent years loving Mia, convincing myself she was my forever. But now, sitting here with Sophia, I realized I didn't even miss the woman she used to be, because maybe that woman never existed in the first place. The bartender came by, raising an eyebrow. Another round? Sophia glanced at me. I met her gaze. Then, for the first time in a long time, I smiled. Yeah, I said. One more. Because tonight wasn't about them. Tonight was about us. And tomorrow was about something new. One drink turned into two. Two turned into three. By the time we left the bar, the weight of betrayal that had been crushing me for weeks felt lighter. Not gone, but not as suffocating as before. Sophia walked beside me, her heels clicking against the pavement. The night air was crisp, carrying the faint scent of rain. "You good to drive?" she asked, glancing at me. I chuckled. I stopped after the third one. "Unlike you," she smirked. "Yeah, well, I had more rage to drown." "Fair enough." I gestured toward my car. "Come on. I'll drop you off." She hesitated for a moment before nodding. "All right." The drive to her place was quiet, but not the kind of silence that felt heavy. It was comfortable. Two people who had been through the same war, sitting side by side, knowing that neither had to explain the scars they carried. She stared out the window, the city lights casting fleeting shadows across her face. "I don't know what comes next," she admitted.
Ich glänzte her.
"For you. For both of us." I thought about that. For weeks, my life had been about revenge. About exposing them, making sure Mia and Logan lost everything. Now that it was over, I was staring at an empty page, unsure what to write next. "I guess we figure it out as we go," I said finally. Sophia turned to me, studying my face. Then, she smiled. "Yeah."
I guess vedo.
When I pulled up to her building, she unbuckled her seatbelt but didn't get out right away. She turned to me. "You gonna be okay?" I smirked. "I should be asking you that." Sophia huffed a quiet laugh. "I'll survive." A beat of silence. Then she leaned in. Just slightly. Not an invitation. Not a move. Just a moment. A flicker of something unspoken, hanging between us. I could have closed the gap. Could have let the night take us somewhere unexpected. But instead, I just met her gaze and said, "Get some rest, Sophia." She nodded. "You too, Ethan." Then she got out, walked to her building, and disappeared inside. I exhaled slowly, gripping the wheel. For the first time since this all started, I wasn't thinking about Mia anymore. And maybe, just maybe, that was the first step toward moving on. The next morning felt different. For weeks, I had woken up drowning in rage, in betrayal, in the sickening weight of Mia's lies. But today there was nothing. Not anger, not grief, just silence. And for the first time, it didn't feel empty. Felt like freedom. I spent the morning packing. Mia was still living in our house, but not for much longer. The divorce papers had already been sent. Her job was gone. Her reputation destroyed. I had won. But there was still one last thing to do. I had to face her. Not for closure. I didn't need it anymore. I just wanted her to see, to truly see, that I wasn't the broken man she had left behind. That I was walking away from her without a single regret. I arrived at the house in the afternoon. Mia was sitting on the couch when I walked in, looking smaller than I had ever seen her. The moment she saw me, her eyes filled with something desperate. "Ethan," she whispered. I said nothing. She stood up, wringing her hands. I don't know where to start." I tilted my head. "Try sorry." Tears welled in her eyes. "I am sorry. I swear I am." I raised a hand. "Stop." She swallowed hard, her lip trembling. I stepped closer, meeting her gaze, my voice calm. "I didn't come here to fight. I didn't come here to yell. I came here to tell you something." She nodded quickly, as if clinging to any chance of redemption. "Okay."
I'm listening.
I exhaled, then said the only thing left to say. "I forgive you." Her breath hitched. "You what?" I shrugged. "I forgive you." Her eyes filled with fresh tears, and for a second, I thought she was going to throw herself at me, beg for another chance. But then I spoke again. "I forgive you, but that doesn't mean I'll ever love you again." Her entire body shuddered. She looked at me like she finally understood. That no matter how many times she apologized, no matter how much she regretted it, she had lost me forever. I grabbed the last of my things and headed for the door. She didn't try to stop me, because she knew this was the last time we would ever see each other. And I wasn't looking back. I walked out of that house for the last time, shutting the door behind me with a quiet click.
No slamming.
No final, dramatic words, just silence. And it was the most peaceful sound I had heard in weeks. I didn't know exactly where I was headed, but I knew it wasn't back there. Not to Mia. Not to the life she had shattered. That chapter was over. Now it was time to write a new one. My phone buzzed as I reached my car. A message. Sophia. *K. You up for another drink? *. I smirked. Not because I was looking for revenge. Not because I needed someone to fill the void Mia left behind. But because, for the first time in a long time, I was saying yes to something that was just for me. I got in the car, turned on the ignition, and drove. Not to escape the past, but to finally start living without it.